Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. With the playing of our national anthem, we're ready to start the Bobby Ball 150-miler here at Phoenix International Raceway. And now for those famous words.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
The cars are beginning to move. Bobby Unser outside front row is away first, followed by his brother Al Unser on the pole. Right behind is three-time Indianapolis winner A.J. Foyt, newcomers Swede Savage, veterans Lloyd Ruby, Johnny Rutherford, and a total of 24 cars now moving around the track behind the pace car. They'll be coming down for the green flag in just a moment. Then it will be 150 laps of top racing by the finest race drivers and the fastest championship cars in the world. There it is. They're on their way. At the end of the first lap, it's Bobby Unser in front, Al Unser second, and A.J. Foyt. Into turn one, the field begins to string out. There's a spin in turn two. No damage, just some shaken nerves and black rubber on the track. Now a battle is shaping up between the Unser brothers. They're running 1-2 with Al pushing hard on Bobby for the front spot. From the looks of things, this could be an Unser race all the way down to the finish.
In the history of Indy 500, one name reigns supreme, and that is Unser. From the late 50s to the 90s, Bobby and Al Unser have dominated the motor racing world with their unique brand of driving skill and determination.
My love, or maybe you could say my hate for the Indy 500, started in 1968.
Bobby Unser came from a family of race car drivers. He made a name for himself as a driver who pushed himself and his cars to the limit. He drove fast and hard all of the time and has won numerous racing championships throughout his career, including 3 Indianapolis 500 titles. Never shy of the spotlight, Bobby Unser has also been the center of controversy because of his opinions about what is fair and just, both on and off the track. Robert William Unser, better known as Bobby, was born on February 20th, 1934 in Colorado Springs, and at an early age, he knew that he was born to race. Bobby Unser's older brother, Jerry Jr., became the first Unser race car champion, winning the 1957 United States Auto Club Stock Car Championship before dying during practice of the 1959 Indianapolis 500. Louis Unser, Bobby's other older brother, started a racing career but was later diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and was unable to continue driving. This left racing open to the 2 younger Unser boys. At age 16, Bobby Unser won his first race at the Southwest Modified Stock Car Championship, which he won again the following year. His grandfather, Louis Unser, was a mechanic whose 3 sons were the first to ride up Pikes Peak, a 14,110-foot high mountain on the edge of the Great Plains in the 1920s. This was the first race of what would become an annual tradition for the Unsers. Only the Unser boys made it to the top. This was the start of the Unsers' domination of that very mountain. Al Unser, younger brother to Bobby, is the most successful racer in the history of the Indianapolis 500 Motor Speedway. During his 3-decade career, Al Unser had 4 first-place finishes, 3 second, 4 third, 1 fourth, a 5th, and 2 other top 10 places. This is a racing dynasty that were born to race.
I was 17 before my father started to let me race. I started with modified stock cars before my father started letting me race with real race cars like my brother Bobby was.
This is Speedway Park in Albuquerque. Hometown tracks like this is where most great race drivers began their professional racing career. And this is the Ontario Motor Speedway, home of the California 500. Hi, I'm Roger Ward, and I've been a driver of championship race cars for a long, long time. I'm retired now, and probably is just as well, considering the caliber of race drivers today. They're intelligent and tough, and lately, the toughest of them all have been the Unser brothers, Bobby and Al. I've been following the Unser story ever since young Jerry Jr. came up to the old brickyard in Indianapolis in 1958. I remember his tragic death in a practice run at the Speedway the following year. I remember the courage of the family, and I know of the brave vow taken by his brothers to win for Jerry. And I know of their records since then. They have been phenomenal.
Running against the clock is an old story to the Unsers. They have been doing it almost since the first day that an automobile dirt track was opened up at the top of Pikes Peak near Colorado Springs, Colorado. Many people in this area refer to it as Unser Mountain because of the amount of times an Unser has won the race. It is one of the oldest automobile races in the history of the U.S. In fact, it is second only to the Indianapolis 500.
Pikes Peak or bust. Here's the entrance to the long road up Pikes Peak, Colorado, where thousands are thrilled yearly by a 12-mile race that takes the starch and heart out of everybody but a champion. There's the start, 12 miles of grueling, skidding, heartbreaking climb. No smooth, wide track, no banked curves here. You take that dust and dirt and bumps and hairpin twists as they come, if you can. If not, you're liable to crash a few hundred feet down to a very dry Davy Jones locker. All cars are champion equipped. Here again, a champion with champions is tops at the top. There he is, Louis Unser, under the flag for the second consecutive year. Time 16 minutes, 1 and 8/10 seconds. Boy.
Unsers have been winning here almost since its inception, and the Unser who has won it more times than any other is Bobby Unser with 13 wins. On one occasion, in 1969, he raced a Ford Torino stock car and won.
Most of my races at Pikes Peak had been in the racing cars, not stock cars. But in the late 60s, they started to bring back the stock car division. Now, I was down at Daytona at the time, and I run into Bunky Knudsen, the president of Ford, and he told me that he wanted the speed record at Pikes Peak, and he asked me to get it for him. I decided that 69 Ford Torino, which was going to be specially built for the run on June 29th. The car was built by the team of Holman and Moody of Bellstrap Racing, and compared to a traditional stock car, the 69 Torino Cobra was lower and leaner than the street version. The lights, the mirrors, the trims, and any other non-essentials were removed. The chassis is a stock car design that's been beefed up for racing. For strength, we had a steel strap to strengthen the wheel axle housing. But the power of the Torino came from that big old Boss 429 V8, which was hand-built by the legendary Smokey Eunuch.
The car is a 1969 Ford Torino Talladega-bodied stock car, and it was built specifically for the run at Pikes Peak on June 29th of 1969. The car was built by the team of Holman and Moody and Bill Strop Racing, and compared to a stock 69 Torino Cobra, it's obvious to see the race car is lower and leaner than the street version, with subtle aero mods all over the car. The lights, mirrors, trim, and other non-necessities were removed, and the bumpers were tucked in for a sleeker profile. The headlights were removed in favor of cold air intakes to cool the various fluid coolers on board, and a complete roll cage was installed for stiffness and safety. Tow hooks and hood pins appear in the front, but the grille retains a mostly stock appearance. A small wing was added to the rear deck for stability, and the glass was replaced with plexi and retained with straps and tabs. 2 small quarter vents relieve air pressure, and the rear bumper features a smooth panel where the license plate recess once was. The rocker panels are recessed to accommodate the side exhaust. You'll notice that this isn't a perfectly restored show car because it's mostly original and it's still covered in stone chips from climbing the big hill. The chassis is primarily a stock design that has been beefed up for racing with a lowered front suspension, high-rate springs, outboard-mounted racing shock absorbers, a larger sway bar, and reinforced strut rods. Adjusters in the struts allow for alignment tuning, and reinforcements were welded into the lower control arms. Skid plates protect the engine, and certain part numbers contain X's. These are experimental racing pieces, but they still carry Ford part numbers. The racing headers merge into flat collectors for ground clearance, and the wheels are oversized steel pieces with wide rubber up front and Unser spec tread and compound in the back. The rear suspension exhibits some classic hot rodding tricks, including moving the stiffer rear leaf springs inboard to accommodate the larger tires. A steel strap strengthens the 9-inch rear axle housing, and a narrowed steel fuel cell feeds the beast. An arched tubular crossmember not only reinforces the chassis, but also provides a raised upper mount for the long-travel rear racing shocks. A pair of filtered rear axle breathers sit between the tubes. So overall, the chassis design and execution are pretty basic, but they were obviously very effective because this car did set a record at Pikes Peak. When he climbed in the car, Unser was greeted with an array of switches and gauges. The switches control ignition, pumps, and cooling fans, and the gauges read out RPM, pressures, and temperatures. And note the backup set of gauges in case the ride is rougher than expected and the primaries get knocked out. A handwritten cheat sheet is taped to the inside headliner, but we have no evidence if it's authentic or not. The car has an automatic transmission, and we think the base of the shifter is a Pontiac piece, but we didn't confirm that. Power comes from a Boss 429 V8 that was hand-built by the legendary Smokey Yunick himself. Rumor has it that outside of some regular maintenance, Smokey was probably the last person to do any major work on this engine, and it still runs strong today. Power numbers aren't readily known, but judging by the fact that it set a record at Pikes Peak, we know this Boss 9 has what it takes.
What type of race is Pikes Peak? What's the attraction? With the camera on board Bobby Unser's race car, you can see for yourself. In 1955, Bobby Unser debuted at Pikes Peak, now dubbed Unser's Peak, because of his family's history of success at the hill climb. He finished 5th that year behind his 2 brothers. A year later, he won his first of a record 13 championships. Bobby Unser won 6 straight titles from 1958 to 1963, but his streak ended in 1964 when his younger brother Al won the race. However, his sweetest victory at Unser's Peak came 10 years later when he tied his uncle's record of 9 wins. The Unser brothers raced at Pikes Peak to beat each other, but most of all, to beat their uncle Lewis's record. Because Bobby has done so well at Pikes Peak, they now call him the King of the Mountain.
What made them so competitive? What drives them to victory after victory? I think perhaps desire, which stems from Pop Unser, a very patient but demanding teacher.
My father was a stern man, but a fair man. He was kind, but he sure did have a mind of his own. When he wasn't giving us driving lessons or teaching us about racing, my mother made sure we were practicing our music. I can't believe that she got me to play that trumpet, even to this day. She was up against a stacked deck. I wasn't a bad trumpet player, and with a little practice, I'm sure I could probably pick it up again.
My name is Mary Unser. I've been going to auto races most of my life. This is because all of the men I have ever loved were racers. I've had 4 sons, every one a champion. Once I hoped my boys might become doctors, lawyers, or concert pianists. Having any of these dreams fulfilled would make almost any woman happy. But tell me, do you know any mother who's had 2 sons in the winner's circle at Indianapolis? Well, I have. Then there is Louis. He doesn't drive anymore, but he has won his championship in a spiritual triumph over a crippling disease. He designs and builds racing engines. His company is very well known among racers everywhere. My 4th son was Jerry Jr. We lost him just as he was rising to the top of his profession. He was trying for the big prize when he died, but his passing was not in vain. He pointed the way for his younger brothers. Then there was another man in my life. I met him a long time ago. He was the most persistent, exasperating, self-assured, hard-headed man I ever knew, and I loved him with all my heart. He was the inspiration behind all of his sons, all of my racing boys.
This is Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the Unsers have lived since Pop Unser moved his growing family from Colorado in the early 30s. There was less than 32,000 people here in those days. Now there's more than 1/3 in the metropolitan area.
There is a racetrack of some sorts in every sizable city within the United States. They are generally operated by local people who love auto racing. Most of the time, they barely make it pay. This one is unusual, as it started 2 national driving championships on their way, Bobby and Al Unser.
My love, or maybe you could say my hate, with the Indy 500 started in 1968.
In 1967, the word was out that those mechanical marvels, the turbine-powered racers, would make obsolete the piston engines, the Offies, the Fords. In 1968, 3 turbines made the race, and 2 of the 3 qualified for the choicest starting positions. It was Graham Hill who smashed the record first with a top speed of 171.887. Then ex-motorcycle champ Joe Leonard turned a lap, just a whisker under 172 miles an hour to win the pole position. The third man in the front row was Bobby Unser of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He had won 3 straight races to start the 1968 season, and he had a few plans of his own about this Indianapolis race. In qualifying for his front row starting position, Bobby became the first driver in history to record an official 170-mile-an-hour lap at Indianapolis in a piston engine car.
Start your engine. Started in car number 2.
I looked forward to this day for quite some time. We knew what the turbines were capable of doing, but I had to find out if I could take them in practice because they had more speed on the straight than we could handle.
Confident, waiting on the green flag above. Joe Leonard, Bobby Unser, and Mario Andretti. Joe Leonard, Bobby Unser, and Mario Andretti. Out in front of the field, get through the first turn. Mario Andretti in front.
When it came to about the 8th lap, I was able to go ahead and pass Joe Leonard, finding out that if I had slipped up alongside him, I'd get the revs up and go on by him. And once I got by him, I knew I could beat him in traffic. That's what kept me ahead, so I went out and made my first pit stop.
It's the 40th lap. Al Unser pits his new 4-wheel drive car and starts back into the race. But flames back up through the turbocharger and precious moments are lost as George Bignotti gets the fire out. Then, a lap later, Al comes down the main straightaway and heads for turn 1.
Reason for the yellow, Al Unser, in car number 24.
By the 40th lap, my brother Al had gone into the wall. And I was on the opposite side of the track when I saw it happen, so naturally when I saw him sitting up on the wall waving his arms at me, I knew he was in good shape.
And now Lloyd Ruby has the lead. Bobby is second, Leonard is third. Leonard's teammate, Graham Hill, hits the wall in turn 2. One turbine is out.
Involved in an accident on the course. Graham Hill is out of the car and is okay. Graham Hill is out of the car and is okay.
The duel between piston engine and turbine engine continues. His first 500, his first accident. Bill Vukovich gets acquainted with turn 3. He's okay, the car is okay, and he gets a restart. But Rutherford and McElreath tangle. Mike Mosley spins into the infield, and Bobby Unser has some problems of his own.
On my third and last trip to the pits, I noticed I had only one gear working and that my turbo was having problems. So I fell back to third place.
Then the bottom drops out of Lloyd Ruby's world. He's forced into the pits with ignition trouble. His crew replaces a coil in 6 minutes, 29 seconds of precious racing time. Such a little thing to cost a great team the race. In the 181st lap, Carl Williams puts the caution light on in the backstretch. There's a stubborn fire, and Leonard is locked in first place with Bobby Unser and Gurney behind him. The caution light continues, and it looks as though the race will finish under the yellow with Leonard a certain victor. But the wreckage is towed away. At the start of the 192nd lap, the green flag comes out, and the incredible happens. Joe Leonard accelerates, but nothing happens. The turbine engine dies, and the car rolls to a stop in turn 1 as Bobby Unser sweeps into the lead and heads for the checkered flag.
We got the signal just...
And what was funny was that I didn't even know where the victory circle was. So I just had to follow the crowds and hope that they'd lead me there.
On hearing that her son had won the 1968 Indianapolis 500, here is what Mary Unser had to say.
I remember I told the newsman at Bobby's 500 victory, well, I have one son in the winner's circle. Now I've got to get the other one there too. I'll admit that was a mother's wishful thinking. But you know, it could have easily happened in 1969, except for that fun ride Al took on a motorcycle one day. We were very thankful it was no worse than a broken ankle, but he was out of all racing for 2 critical months.
In spite of being reduced to spectator status for that long, Al Unser finished the rest of the season so strongly that he was runner-up to Mario Andretti for the 1969 driving championship.
I was 17 before my father started to let me race. I started with modified stock cars before my father started letting me race with real race cars like my brother Bobby was. Yeah.
An early season showing in 1970 quickly made Al Unser the favorite for the Indy 500.
A strong early season showing in 1970 quickly made Al the early May favorite to win the Indianapolis Classic. He turned lap after lap at high speeds in practice, and when it came time for him to qualify, he was ready. Al zipped around the track at an average speed of 170.221 miles an hour and won the pole position.
It sounds deceptively easy, but if the bricks from the old speedway could talk, it would tell stories of those who gave their best and failed.
The Unsers have been winners, but they've been losers too. In 1968, Al slowly walked back over the path his car took into the wall, trying to figure out what happened. In 1965, Bobby tried to master the Novi and failed, but there is nothing unusual about that. In any given year at Indianapolis, there are almost as many incidents during practice and qualification as there are cars in the race. Almost every career driver has visited the wall at one time or another. If they can profit by the experience, then they're one step closer to being a champion. That pretty well describes Bobby Unser. He's reached that point in his career where consistent top performance is normal rather than the exception. But in qualifying for the 1970 500, his biggest problem is how to beat little brother. Three men chasing $1 million. There is rain and delays. But finally, that magic moment, the start of the race is at hand.
Now, race fans, it's a little past time for those important words from Mr. Holman. Gentlemen, first, go to race gas.
33 men are chasing $1 million in the 1970 Indianapolis 500. There are delays, but suddenly, the commentator announces that the race is about to begin. The green flag drops. It's the start of the 1970 Indy 500.
When the race did start, Johnny Rutherford got ahead of me there on the corner right there at the beginning, but by the second corner, Rutherford was he was still ahead of me. But as the race continued, I was able to catch him, and I got by him. Yeah, that was my first win. I was very concerned that I might have overshot the station. That can happen when you're too anxious. If you see, drivers have a tendency to do that. But I knew I couldn't be too slow, either, as you might waste time. So you have to be very careful. Lloyd came back and made a great challenge, but I was able to keep him from overtaking me.
A vibration-worn part breaks on the car driven by Roger McCluskey. He's followed into the wall by Ronnie Bucknam and Sam Sessions. Others, including Jerry Grant, spin through the pileup. Within moments, the situation is under control. The safety crews work with vast precision. No one is injured. It just takes time to clean up such a big mess. Al Unser escaped the accident and continued to lead.
On the last 15 laps of the race, I was able to put a lap between myself and A.J. Floyd and Mark Donahue. A.J. was running second, Donahue was third.
Yes, Al Unser won his first 500, and Bobby won his. But each of them won for all the Unsers, for two brothers who helped to show the way, for their own families, and a mother who gave encouragement and devotion. There was one other. Jerry Unser, Sr., did not live to see either of his boys in winner's circle. He started them on their way. He helped them learn their profession. He shared their disappointments and occasional triumphs. But he wasn't there for the big moment. Or was he? Anyway, the last time we talked to Jerry Unser, he said he knew it was going to happen just this way.
Over the years, Bobby and Al Unser have raced against each other multiple times.
It took 2 years to transform a gigantic grape vineyard into the most modern racing plant in America. The Big O at Ontario, California was getting the finishing touches. And Al Unser was busy making friends with the new track. Then one day, there it was, all finished, full of people and race cars. Except for the Indianapolis Oval, this is the track that Roger Ward knows best.
At the start, Lloyd Ruby took the lead from his pole position. Al Unser, Dan Gurney, Johnny Rutherford, and Bobby Unser were right behind him. Down the main straightaway, Al pursued Lloyd Ruby and passed him going into turn 1. As Al made his first routine pit stop, Bobby was sidelined with mechanical failure. Except for brief leading, Al Unser dominated the race until the 186th lap. At that point, he could almost coast over the finish line. But as he went into turn one, he found, quite suddenly, that he really was coasting. His supercharger had failed just 35 miles from the end. And Texan Jim McElreath wrote his name into the record book as the winner of the first California 500.
But even with this defeat, Al Unser proceeded to finish the season even stronger than he did in 1969. He won the next 5 races on the championship trail and earned the USAC National Championship. Starting the 1971 season, Al Unser won an exhibition race in Argentina. Then with brother Bobby, came to Phoenix, Arizona for the first domestic event of the year.
24 cars and drivers are ready to battle it out. Bobby is on the pole position while Al right behind him with Johnny Rutherford alongside. On the parade lap, Jim Malone checked the 24 car placing before the start of the race. The flag goes down and they're off. As they race around the track, it's A.J. Foyt, Al Unser, and Johnny Rutherford battling it out for front position. As the race continues, Rutherford holds on in 4th place as he waits for his chance, but it never comes. The first fuel stop comes around. Bobby goes in first. Al follows, leaving Foyt to take over the lead. A.J. Foyt surrenders the lead to Al Unser and comes in. The Unser duel continues. This time, it's Al in front with Bobby pursuing his brother like a lion on the hunt for food. Bob Harkey comes into turn 2 and spins off the track. He then recovers and drives off. The dueling Unsers continue their battle on the racetrack. Bobby Unser now leads and has his brother Al breathing down his neck. Would it have been better to be second and push all the way to the finish line? He thinks before making his move, but it's too late. Al sweeps past him to take the lead. Then, the wheel blade on Bobby's car comes off, leaving the steering wheel to vibrate. Bobby has no alternative but to drop back, but he still holds on to second place. And that's the way they finish. Al Unser's first with Bobby Unser second. Car number 1 wins and car number 2 second. Well, if you're going to lose, it's better losing to your brother. That way, you can keep the prize money in the family.
By May, Bobby and Al were thinking in terms of carving up the best part of the $1 million purse offered for the 1971 Indianapolis 500. When it came to qualification time, Al figured that a speed of 174.622, which earned him a second-row position, was a good place to start out for a second 500 win.
174.622 miles an hour. A great ride for the defending champion and the winner of the Marlboro Cup.
Dan Gurney has retired as a driver. Now he worries Bobby Unser over the line at a speed of 175.816 miles per hour. And that makes 2 Unsers in the show.
Bobby Unser.
And suddenly, race day. breaks into 4 groups: the fastest, the medium speed, the slowest, and Mark Donahue, who runs away from everyone. Peter Revson and Bobby Unser duel for second in the straightaway. Just a wisp of smoke from the back of Krisloff's car, suddenly it becomes a stream of oil. Krisloff, Mel Kenyon, Andretti, and Gordon Johncock. Others spin wildly to avoid the wreckage. Al and Bobby Unser come through as the emergency crews go about their jobs with rapid efficiency. In the 50th lap, Donahue makes a pit stop, surrenders the lead to Joe Leonard, who passes to Bobby Unser and then back to Donahue in the 65th lap. He records the fastest speed of the race, 174.961 miles per hour. Then coasts into the turn 4 infield with a shattered gearbox. From the 67th lap till the 118th lap, a duel between teammates makes history. The lead passes from Al Unser to Joe Leonard and then back again. And then in the main straightaway, David Hobbs blew an engine. Rick Muther was right behind him at that moment. The rest you can see. Al Unser got through safely, so did A.J. Foyt and others, as Harlan Fangler slowed the field. The caution light is on. Al Unser comes in for 14 seconds to top off his tanks. He had made a pit stop about 15 laps before. Now he's back running with full tanks. Joe Leonard goes out of the race, and now Al Unser leads with his brother Bobby in close pursuit. It's the 165th lap. A wheel comes off Mike Mosley's car, and Bobby Unser has a choice to make: hit Mosley or hit the wall. As it turned out, they both piled into cars parked earlier by Krisloff and Mark Donahue. Bobby is shaken but unhurt. Mosley is hospitalized. And while this is going on, Lloyd Ruby experiences that annual frustration which appears to be becoming the rule rather than the exception. At one time or another, Lloyd Ruby has led almost every 500 since 1966, only to have it end for him like this. For Bobby, the long walk back. And for little brother, the green flag, the lead, and clear sailing with only Peter Revson on the same lap with him. The last 11 laps are quiet, uneventful, except perhaps for those butterflies in Al's stomach as he gets closer to the finish. The checkered flag. Al Unser has done it. He has won his second Indianapolis 500. Al Unser has just joined a very select group of men. Those that have won the 500 back-to-back. Maury Rose, Wilbur Shaw, Bill Vukovich, and now, Al Unser.
On Sunday, May 25th, 1975, the 59th Indianapolis 500 takes place. A.J. Foyt started on the pole position with Bobby Unser on 3rd and Al Unser on 11th.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 1975 Indianapolis 500. Hello, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. The moments before the start of an Indianapolis 500 are very special. They're the kind of moments that we long for in motor racing. It's a kind of ultimate anticipation, for it is a hot, humid day, as it usually is in late May in Indiana, and the heat will be a common adversary for everybody trying to run a race car fast today. In the 33-car starting field, there are 6 former winners with only 4 rookies, but all those 4 rookies are rich in experience from other racetracks. This starting field qualified better than 185 miles an hour collectively, which is one of the fastest fields ever. And the roar from the start of an Indianapolis 500 is indeed heard around the world. And to amplify on that vision, let's turn to a former winner of the Indy 500, AJ Foyt, who today is trying to make it 4 wins, the only person in Indy 500 history to do that. AJ, is this the most important race that you have ever run?
Hello, Keith. To answer your question, yes, it is. I have always felt that records are made to be broken. And as long as I can continue to race, I want to win and set all the records I possibly can. But I always said that the day that I lose that drive, I will hang it up and quit racing. This is a very important race in my life. For the first time, I've had an opportunity to become the only man at this time to win the Indy 500 4 times. And that's a goal I want to achieve, if I possibly can.
Now, to amplify on that point, let's turn to a colleague, the expert commentator for our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, former world champion racing driver Jackie Stewart.
Hello, Keith. Perhaps in the whole world, there are only a handful of truly great events, and here in Indianapolis, this is certainly one of them. Because in every city in the world, in every corner of the world, they know that the Indy 500 is taking place today. And these drivers down in the grid also know that fact. There are 33 of them, facing an enormous crowd, perhaps the biggest motor race in the whole world.
You and I are sitting here and we can feel the tension, but it is nothing like the tension that's felt on the starting grid.
Keith, I can remember when I came out of Gasoline Alley and was faced by this enormous crowd. What a shock it was. It was a system shock like I have never received before. You were just faced with this multitude of people. Your nerves start to shake as your whole system goes into overdrive, as the pit crew make check after check, going over the same things they have done many times before, as the drivers make sure that they are safe as they pull on their fire-resistant suits, backlabs, and gloves, in case the inevitable happens, for full protection. These men at this time are going through emotions most people never experience. They don't know what their day is going to bring. They are 33 of them, and surely there will be accidents today. They know that. They know it's a calculated risk, but they're great men.
This race must be one of a kind.
Yes, the Indy 500 track runs over 2.5 miles. It looks like it's simply 4 easy corners, but this is not the case. It's 2.5 miles round, and it's got a 9-degree bank on all 4 turns. But it's not that simple, because each one of them has a character and personality of their own. Turn 1 is certainly different from Turn 3, which looks to be the same from the start or finishing line. There's a narrow strip of brick. You go into Turn 1 and you're faced with these enormous visions. Faces of people as you short shoot to Turn 2. Now, this is an important turn, as you must go cleanly down the back, straight to Turn 3, so you enter it at very high speed. Again, you go along until you get to Turn 4, where you can enter the pits or go down the start-finishing line. From a driver's point of view, it's a big thrill. You see the grandstand as you go towards Turn 1, banking on the outside wall. You then go high on the racetrack into Turn 2, along the short chute, before you commit yourself to this corner. This is one you must do correctly, as the wind affects you in this corner, but you must get down the back straight and away as quickly as possible. This gives the driver the opportunity to look at his mirror, check his gauges and his tires, just in case he can see a puncture. Then as you enter Turn 3, you are doing an incredibly high speed, around 220 miles an hour. It's a little bit bumpy in the middle as the car goes very high and very close to the wall in the short chute before you get to Turn 4. This is a corner that causes loads of trouble in Indianapolis, as there are so many accidents here. The cars seem to get close to the walls as they loom towards you as you go down the bank straight. Again, you are doing about 220 miles an hour before you are faced with this narrow tunnel of vision that you see that the spectators are on both sides of you. What a racetrack. What an emotional feat. Just to get around there at such high speeds is an incredible feat for each driver.
And coming off that start is a time of trust, faith, and luck, am I right?
Yes, there are 33 men packed into a very small space at very high speed. The talents of the drivers here have trained for a whole month, and this, of course, is their big day to show what they can do as they try to win the Indy 500.
Tony Hulman bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1945 from Eddie Rickenbacker and Associates. Since 1946, Tony Hulman has conducted one of the most dramatic moments in sports anywhere, just like this.
Gentlemen, start your engine. Pit road, Pat Badan, the starter now, will hold the flags and watch the field. If those veterans up front, Boyd, John Tuck and Unser hold them in proper starting position, we'll get a green right now, and we're racing in Indianapolis. It is just
away there. It's got a positive advantage at this time as they come back on.
Gordon Johncock, A.J. Boyd, and Bobby Unser, the front row, running 1, 2, 3. And it's Johncock, defending champion, now sitting comfortably in the number 4 position.
But look what a lead this man, his front man, Gordon Johncock's got. He's really pulled out the strings. He is a charger. Gordon Johncock's the type of man who's expected to do this sort of performance. I think A.J. Boyd's certainly not going to try and challenge him too hard at this time because it's a long race. 500 miles, a long way to go. He's got this time.
It is a light car. Everything is about 7/8 the size previously, and Salt Walter in car number 77 is the first man to hit pit road. Salt Walter. And that is a break for everybody, particularly those people concerned about the fuel consumption.
Cars going down the back straight away. You can see Dolly back taking advantage of the draft as he slingshots past in the smoke. There's a car spinning. It's very undressed. He looks like he's in a mechanical. He's got into the wall very hard indeed, right onto the grass.
Mario Andretti on the back straight hits the wall, and he hits on the left side of the car. That's where the fuel tank is located. There's no fuel tank on the right. It's kept on the left because most of the accidents in the past have happened as people have gone to the outside wall. But that time something happened at the rear of Andretti's car, snapped it around. Mario had no chance. The yellow flag is out. He caroms off the wall, and as you see, walks away, but he's obviously shaken because he must have been traveling in the neighborhood of 190 miles an hour. Now here we come down with A.J. Boyd beginning to move through the traffic, and he's running in behind Tom Sneva. Eldon Rasmussen, number 58, is in the yellow car coming around turn number 2. And oh, we've got an Ash Sneva! He's on the wall. He goes into a terrible slip, and we have a fire. The engine is ripped from the back of the car and comes tumbling across. A.J. Boyd was right behind him. He was able to avoid it somehow. But Tom Sneva is in the car. He's moving around. He's trying to get out. An incredible accident on car number 68, Tom Sneva. There is fire. Sneva can't seem to get out of the car. The fireman is there, spraying it down. Question is there fire in the cockpit? But what a spectacular flip. And the fire suit hopefully will protect young Tom Sneva as he struggles to get out of the car, and Jackie, it appears that he is trapped in that car.
Yeah, he is, but he's got lots of help there. They're obviously dousing the fire. You can't see the alcohol flame, of course, but he looks as if he's okay. He's certainly moving around. I don't think I've ever seen a driver move so easily after...
Ethan Figueroa, we've got on the front straight. That is Gary Beckenhausen has lost the rear wheel, and look at him do the job of driving. Holy smokes, how in the world did he hold it?
Well, that car's only running in 3 wheels. My goodness, it was steering. You see, it's not properly steering because one wheel's cocked up in the air. It's really a tremendous job he's done.
Round of applause building for Beckenhausen for a magnificent piece of work in keeping that car away from everybody else. Gary injured his left arm a year ago and this morning, and there is that rain.
Oh, and it's very heavy, Keith. It's almost thunder rain. It's going to absolutely flood the racetrack. Look at everybody running, but look how heavy the rain is. What are these cars going to do in this sort of rain?
They're going to start slipping and sliding. It is a cloudburst. An old-fashioned Midwest thunderstorm has hit with fury here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Remember, these cars have got slick tires on. They're not supposed to run in the rain. These cars can aquaplane at even about 20 miles an hour. You can see the starter, Pat Badan, there. He's got the checkered flag in his hand.
All right, let's check the standings now. It becomes vital. Who's leading? It is Bobby Unser who has the lead. Johnny Rutherford is second. They're just barely moving along. They're beginning to hydroplane. They're throwing up a rooster tail. A.J. Foyt is running in third. Pancho Connor is 4. Roger McCluskey 5. Bill Cudabaugh 6. And George Snyder is 7. They're wobbling all over the place. Here comes Unser and Foyt coming along. A.J. is a lap down, almost a lap down to Bobby. Bobby Unser in the blue car on the right is the leader as they work their way so very carefully. At this point, however, remember, Bobby Unser must be very careful because if he slides off the racetrack, he could still lose this race to Johnny Rutherford, who is feeling his way around. It's like walking on grease.
Remember, these drivers are not used to driving in the rain, and the cars are certainly not set up. I've driven in the rain, of course, a lot of times because in Europe we do drive in the rain, but there we have tires. And there's cars all over the place. I just thought that with the aquaplaning and the amount of water on the road, cars are spinning, and look at this car.
That's Billy Vukovic.
Billy Vukovic trying to control it. He's heading for the infield. Oh, he's going up on the fence, and he's coming, and he's driving it away.
The red flag is out. The race is stopped. The checkered flag is out. Pat Madsen stopping the race. There's Johnny Rutherford. He's running in second place.
Impossible conditions for these drivers. Look at that. It's almost fog. And the car's reversing down the front straightaway.
You can't see it, perhaps, but Bobby Unser coasting through the crowd there. There were 4 cars tangled up and coming off that fourth turn. A.J. Foyt coming along. He's going to be third, and there's your winner, car number 48. Bobby Unser wins on a driving rainstorm here at Indianapolis.
By the 174th lap, a huge downpour fell onto the track. Officials immediately end the race, just 26 laps short of the scheduled distance. Bobby Unser was leading the 500 at the red flag and was declared the winner. Defending champion Johnny Rutherford was in second, and pole position A.J. Foyt came home third. Al Unser finished the race with a broken connecting rod. This was Bobby's second win.
Now, I had no idea that it was going to rain. In fact, I was really lucky to bring the car down to a safe speed before the rain suddenly came down. It was like skiing on an ice rink. There was no control over that car at all.
In 1978, Al Unser breaks a 5-year bad run by winning the 62nd Indianapolis 500.
Once you win in Indianapolis, then you know you can do it, and you want to win every year and repeat that victory.
Comes down the front stretch for the last time.
The checkered flag will be waved by Pat Madsen for Al Unser of Albuquerque. He has won his 3rd Indianapolis 500, joining the names of Louis Meyer, of Wilbur Shaw, of Maury Rose, and A.J. Foyt as the only men who have won this race 3 times. A.J., of course, has won it 4 with his victory last year. But Al Unser now in that very exclusive society of 3-time winners. There he is.
Oh, breathing relief. Look at Karen, the lovely Karen, his wife there. She doesn't know where to look. She must be a happy lady right now. Oh, what a lovely kiss.
Okay. Karen waiting for her husband Al Unser, waving in orange flame retardant glove. There's A.J. Foyt, the final humiliation of the day. He stopped on the race course, ran out of fuel, no doubt. There also is Wally Dallenbach in car number 6. He's also out of fuel. He will finish well, though. Dallenbach unofficially in 5th or 6th place. We'll have the final official standings. A.J. Foyt's going to be 8th or 9th, it appears. But into victory lane is Al Unser. It's all over. Took something over 3 hours to do in intense heat and humidity at Indianapolis. But we would suspect he's not feeling it very much right now.
Once you want to win, and so after competing for 6 years without a win, I was desperate. I was desperate to prove that I could do it. I could do it again, and that's what I did.
In 1981, Bobby Unser took the pole. Unser was running strong that day when the frustration began. Time and time again, the race was slow and under the yellow flag. Unser even caught fire in the pits, but chose to drive it out of the car by using the airflow to put the flames out. Unser and Andretti both pitted, running 1-2. Bobby was out first with Andretti close behind. As they re-entered the track, the rest of the field was passing. Unser accelerates past several cars before merging in about 10 spots in front of Andretti, who also passed a few cars before merging into the track. Andretti radioed this incident into his crew, but no penalty at this time was taken. For the next 3 laps, Unser led the field to win the race. The next day, Mario Andretti was declared the winner.
Now I know what the rules are. I studied them rules probably harder than any other driver at that time. So I knew what I did might have been a gray area, but I also knew they had no rules against it.
In October of that year, Bobby Unser was reinstated and became the 3-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, but Mario Andretti sees it differently.
Guys, look, what happened that day is clear. Bobby passed the cars under the yellow flag when he came out of the pits.
I didn't do anything wrong. It just depends on how you read them rules.
The 1981 Indy 500 was arguably the most controversial in the history of the event.
With me is Thomas W. Binford, the chief steward at the Indianapolis 500, who's responsible for acting on protests. And a protest has been lodged by the Patrick Racing Team, contending that winner Bobby Unser passed cars illegally under the yellow flag. Tom, what's next?
Well, right now and this evening, we will be reviewing all of the facts in this case as well as the entire playback results. Then we will post our official decision and results at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Within that time, the unofficial protest will be accepted if they still want to place it. We may decide in their favor before it's even made its official, we may not. If they don't, they can file a protest and we'll have a hearing.
Okay, you're saying that you may decide to take action on this yourself. Passing under the yellow, what type of penalty or adjustment may this incur?
It could incur as much as a 1-lap penalty, which would of course take the victory away from Bobby Unser and present it to Mario Andretti.
Okay, so it's been a long day at the track for all of us, and it looks like a longer night for the officials.
This time, its champion was not decided on the racetrack, but in the court. The trophy changed hands between 2 racing legends, Bobby Unser and Mario Andretti, over a controversial blending rule dictated where a driver could merge onto the track coming out of the pits under a yellow flag, and who followed the rule and who didn't. Was the blending rule clear? That question remains the bone of the contention to this present day. There did exist a verbal agreement with the drivers. The cars would bend back into the track after their pit stop in such a way that any advantage gained by that driver over those that would remain on the track behind the base car would be neutralized.
I would have done the same thing by appealing the decision to overturn the verdict to give me the race. But the fact is that Bobby violated the rules that were already in place. They tested that rule before. They went back and forth with various hearings that Bobby did pass whatever amount of cars under the yellow flag. I think he admitted to 8. It was probably more, but 8, let's say. And so he committed this infraction of the rules. And that was very clear to everybody, but the judges ruled, all 3 judges ruled to change the decision and only gave him a $40,000 fine, which was the toughest part of it all for me to accept, because I'd pay $40,000 any day to be able to cheat and win the Indy 500. I blame the USAC and the Indianapolis officials. What they needed to do was uphold the decision, but they crumbled under the pressure and they threw out the rule book. The fact is that Bobby would have probably won the race anyway, so why even bother to cheat like that?
You know, I can't believe that I'm listening to this. I disagree in everything that Mario has said, except the very last part where USAC handled this matter really badly. I totally agree with that. So let me put the matter straight. Number 1, the $40,000 fine was to pay for the court fees that USAC had to pay. It was not a fine as such. They could do that as there was no rule to stop them. Number 2, the rule book states that any car leaving the pits from the exit could be completed in turn 2. Now let's just say that it wasn't legal, even though it was. Mario did the exact same thing behind me. So don't tell me it's wrong for me, but it's okay for Mario Andretti. Now, I passed 8 cars, which I own up to. Mario, who was behind me, he passed 2. Now, if that wasn't in the rules, we would have both been penalized.
That's Bobby. Bobby, you can't interpret the rules to your own liking or create new rules just for you. That rule is just as plain as you could ever paint it. You cheated and you know it.
Let me tell you, the people who made a decision on this didn't do anything during that race. No penalty, no nothing. The officials did not say that Bobby Unser did anything wrong. Nothing occurred until sometime after the tapes of the race were reviewed.
Mario, do you think that we would still be discussing this if ABC didn't make such a big deal of this on their telecast?
Yeah, but you have to remember, back then the procedure was that they'd penalize after they looked at the tapes of the complete race overnight, and that was just the normal procedure. But after that 81 Indy 500 incident, they agreed if there was going to be a penalty put in place that severe, they'd need to call the guy in right away. And if he would have been warned during the race, then maybe he could have made it right then. He could have been placed back to where he should have been, restart, and then he could have made it up. And hey, trust me, he would have. He had a great car that day.
I have got to add that there was never a penalized rule written for this supposed infraction. But let's just say that Mario is right and I am wrong. What is the penalty? Where was the penalty written? Where was the penalty verbally given? It was never given. It was never written. So when you leave the pits, you could not blend into the group of cars between turn 1 and turn 2. That was against the rules. And in the rule book, but it states that you must blend into the track coming off of turn 2. And it had a specific place marked for that. Now, how can that not be understood by anybody?
Okay. All I have to say is that even though I didn't win the race, I started last, ended up finishing second, and I am proud of that.
After the incident of the 1981 Indianapolis 500, Bobby Unser decided to retire from race car driving in 1982, leaving brother Al Unser on the track.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 71st Indianapolis 500. No event is as large and dramatic with a wealth of compelling stories like the Indianapolis 500 motor race. We have A.J. Foyt trying to capture his 5th title win, plus Mario Andretti trying to break 17 years of freakishly bad racing luck at Indianapolis. All the difficulties and the drivers have had in keeping these cars off the wall as we get ready to call the race, but never before has there been a front row as strong as this one. Mario Andretti, Bobby Rahal, and Rick Mears each have won the race, and each today are on the top of his form.
It wasn't until 1987 that Al Unser won his next and 4th Indy 500 title. With no car to race, Al Unser thought that his career as a race car driver was over, but it wasn't until Dan Ongas crashed in the practice session that left the door open to Al Unser to compete in the 71st Indianapolis 500.
Other places winning. Second place doesn't. I know that. So after I came to realize that I couldn't do it no more in 1999, I decided to hang it up.
Yes, sir. You can keep your eye on the Unsers. They were born to race.